It's a cloudy day here in Miami. Anyways, if you're getting ghosted, you have to understand that it's completely normal. It's part of the game. But once you understand how to turn your ghosted conversations into actual sales calls, an easier time scaling your business, because you're going to have a higher ROI on your effort, on your inputs, as well as the money you put in to getting every single lead. Listen, we've booked over 50 calls per month using just 2 setters with outbound, purely cold outreach, and we've also booked over 400 calls per month from inbound leads. In both cases, we've been able to double our reply rate by having a proper follow-up system, which is exactly what I'll be showing you here in the next few minutes. Covering number one, the follow-up structure that actually stands out to people and doesn't just annoy and bother your leads to where they ghost you even more. Number two, I'll be showing you and giving you the actual scripts. And number three, I'll be talking about the actual frequency of follow-ups that makes sense and doesn't bother people. And this is also that you can get more replies, book more sales calls, and obviously make more money and scale your business. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Never say something like, I'm just following up with you. I'm just checking in with you. These are such common mistakes because if you're saying stuff along these lines, you might as well just tell people that you're there to take their money. Instead, say, hey, had some time to get back to you. Why? Because you're busy. You've had some time to get back to them and check on them, see how they're doing, right? Hey, just had some time to circle back to you on XYZ. This is if you know what the person wants, why the person already messaged you, what your conversation is about, or at least where it's going, right? And with this, you need to always frame your follow-up, so not just one message, the entire follow-up process. You're framing it as a value provider. You're not there to take their money. You're not making it seem salesy, like you're there to just sell them. You're following up with them to get them on a call to sell them or to get them to commit to an action that's going to make them pay you money. You're there to give them gold. You're there to give them golden value. Now, knowing that your follow-ups are meant to provide value, you have to understand where in the conversation you're actually following up. And a lot of people miss this, and then they literally struggle with their follow-ups, and their follow-ups don't work, their reply rate is terrible, they don't book enough meetings, and then they struggle to hit their revenue goals, and they struggle to make money in their business. And that is understanding where you are in the conversation, how close are you to the start or the finish of the conversation. The start being literally starting with the lead from scratch. The finish, the end goal in a conversation, is usually booking the call. The reason why you need to know exactly where you are on this chart is because the further you are through the conversation, the further you are to the finish line, the more leverage you have. When you know more about the person, right? And that's what you do when you're setting. You're finding things out about the person, you're qualifying the person to see if they're a fit, but also you're finding out their pain points, their desires, right? What are they actually like? Why are they even talking to you? When you know more of those things, you have more leverage because you have more ammo and you know more of their personal pain, which means you have more pain to poke at. That's probably the best way of putting it. So later, if you get ghosted further into the conversation, when you're sending them value, when you're sending them assets, then you can provide value that is tailored to their exact problems and the pains that you have found out. But obviously, if you're following up with someone who's ghosted you after one message in the conversation, you're not going to know their pains, you're not going to know their problems, or really what they want, unless you just generalize and kind of average out what other people in that market want. After you understand this, here's the one thing that everyone misses today, because everyone is still doing follow-ups that worked maybe 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but they don't work in the new market. They don't work today. And the old follow-ups is constantly asking people, are you still interested? Are you still looking to do this? Right? It's also using mass market and broadcasting follow-up messages, right? So just spamming follow-up messages. But if you want the highest reply rate from your follow-up so you can book the most calls, get onto the most sales calls, sell the most people and make the most money, you need to follow up on relevance. You need to have personalization in your follow-ups. So this means not assuming that the lead is struggling, not assuming what problem they're struggling with, right? This goes back to understanding how far you are in the conversation. And when you don't assume, then you actually find out what are they really struggling with, and then you follow up on relevance by sending whatever is relevant to their pain, relevant to whatever that person, that specific person, is trying to get. Following up on relevance also means asking the right questions, and I'm going to give you some scripts here for that. So asking the right questions look like this. What can I send you? What do you need right now? What is the most important question you have now? When you send this to your leads, especially into the B2C market with inbound leads, what do you think they're going to see you as? They're going to see you as someone who's trying to help. They're not going to see you as a used car salesman trying to push something into their face. You can use disarming questions. Asking people, was it something I said? As the first or the second follow-up in your sequence. Still with me, Nate? I say something wrong. You play the victim and you disarm the prospect because you make it look like they have the authority and you're asking them if you did something wrong. And then we go on to the actual memes, and the memes, again, this depends on your niche. With some niches, this just wouldn't be appropriate. If you're doing B2B follow-ups and you have a long follow-up sequence, adding in some memes always works. Same with B2C prospects. The memes just need to be relevant to your niche. It's actually having relevant resources. So I always like to build for any client something along of a content or a resource vault. We have pain one. For example, in this market, it could be not booking enough calls. If they're not booking enough calls, I would have resources here showing them how to book more calls. Pain number two, low show-up rate. Resources showing them how to have a better show-up rate. And the way this works, if you're doing your own setting, it just simplifies, grabbing the right resources for every person. But this works a lot better with setters or VAs because it just systemizes the process. If a setter sees someone complain about a pain point, a specific pain point, and then they come back to this resource vault, they can easily find a resource that is specifically meant to help that person instead of just doing a general follow-up and sending something the person might not be highly or specifically interested in. With resources, it's best to put them onto a platform like YouTube. This is my opinion. And this is because when someone goes there, if they watch one of your videos, what ends up happening is now, if they find it valuable, they end up clicking on your channel. Obviously, they might subscribe, maybe they won't, but they're gonna end up checking out all of your other videos. And what happens is that just builds more trust as they spend more time watching your content. And here's a few scripts for how you can actually position trainings. Hey Naeem, I just created a training on XYZ. Would it help if I sent over a quick free training on solving XYZ problem? Just send a thumbs up if it helps. They can't reject something that directly says it's gonna solve their pain point. This works really well as a follow-up. And obviously, if you're at the start of the conversation here and you don't know their pain point, you can throw some general pain points. Doing colder markets, B2B, hyper-aware markets, I suggest to use case studies in follow-ups as well. Here's a quick example. VA was doing this messaging for me, and a case study brought the prospect back. Because in hyper-aware markets, people get spammed so much that you really need to prove that you are who you are. With these resources, what you're really doing is sending sales asses that get prospects to know you, like you, and trust you. Now, once you dial this process in, you can start thinking about automating your follow-ups or doing follow-ups manually. Automated ones are HubSpot, High Level, Alaware, ManyChat. With ManyChat, you can automate social media follow-ups with, these three here. Obviously, you can automate SMS follow-ups, email follow-ups. Then there's some platforms that are in the middle, like WhatsApp, right? With WhatsApp, if you get WhatsApp Business, which costs money for conversations, then you can automate follow-ups there as well, and you can have broadcasts in WhatsApp as well. FlowChat, the semi-automates, right? It can semi-automate follow-ups. Same thing with Meta Business Suite. With manual follow-ups, it's going to be Facebook, right? Facebook Messenger, and Instagram primarily. With this, it's very hard to automate follow-ups. You can semi-automate follow-ups, but the good thing is that for all of these that are semi-automated and manual, you can always get a VA that's $3 to $5 an hour. Just follow an SOP and automate these follow-ups for you. By the way, if you need help setting up any of these platforms or automations for your own follow-ups or VAs, setter that come with pre-written scripts tailored to your business, join the school. It's only $37 a month, which is like $1.20 a day. Now, none of this will work for you if you don't understand the actual frequency as well as the amount of touch points that you need when you are following up. So this is where David Ogilvy comes in with his agency that has over 17,000 people working in it. They have tested this and their agency came up with 15 days of follow-ups. It's the point where you don't get diminishing returns, but it's also the point where you get the most and the highest reply rate. By the way, the 15 days, this is not like an everyday thing. It's on a quasi-periodic sequence, which means this isn't getting sent day by day where a lead can basically expect your follow-up and just block you or just literally start getting annoyed by your follow-ups. It's sent every day, then every other day, then it could be a 3-day gap, then every other day again. You should have at least 5 to 7 follow-ups in that period. Other important thing with this is to go multi-channel. So use as many touch points and as many channels for follow-ups as possible. When you follow up 24 hours later, you're gonna text the person, you're gonna email them, and if you have their phone number, message them on WhatsApp. 36 hours later, text, email, phone call, double dial. Phone calls is something you can do on Messenger as well as Instagram too. The only limitation there is that if the person hasn't ever responded to you previously, the call usually won't go through. But if a person has responded to you and then they ghosted you and you're following up, then you can double dial them and get them on that touch point as well. Also leave a voicemail drop. And then it keeps going on that random cycle, random days, until we hit 15 days of this entire process. We had a follow-up sequence and follow-up sequences with Allaware that kind of cover every touch point in a conversation that's really possible, besides one that isn't mentioned on here. But the new convo follow-up, right? 15-day sequence, someone ghosts us at the start of the conversation, right here, right? When we don't have much leverage. This is more of a general follow-up. Mid-convo follow-up, if someone ghosts us in the middle of a conversation. Times offered, if we offer someone times for booking a call, a setter does it, or a phone setter, and ghosts us, right? It's another 15-day sequence. Canceled, if someone cancels their call. If someone no-shows, misses a call, another 15-day sequence. Same thing happens for if someone is a fail, right? If they don't close on a call, we make sure to chase them down and really ask them for their feedback to try to bring them back and give them a promotion, get them into the program, and recover 10 to 20% of the leads that didn't close on a sales call. By the way, if you're struggling with a lot of missed calls and you have a low show-up rate, I have another completely free video showing exactly how you can get more calls on the phone and reach an 80% plus show-up rate. So after you get through the main 15-day sequence, after that you have a quasi-periodic sequence that follows up and never stops with emails, texts, all these touch points at random every 10 to 15 days. It capitalizes on everything we've covered in terms of providing value and following up on relevance for an infinite time period. Last but not least is a reactivation sequence. So for people in this forever follow-up sequence who are the most interested, very important thing that you can do for your own business is reactivate them every month and a half to 2 months. Run a reactivation sequence and message all leads who ghosted you or didn't convert and invite them to a free valuable challenge or webinar. Again, following up on relevance that's meant to help them instead of just making it seem like we're trying to take money from them. Guys, this is the process that took our outbound reply rate from 4% to 10%, and the exact process that took our inbound lead reply rate, so leads who opt into ads, from 35 to 75% across a period of 15 days of follow-ups. It means we created more than 2 times more opportunity than we originally had by having follow-up sequences and follow-up processes like this. Now, if you want your follow-up process audited and optimized from completely scratch, meaning your scripts, the process your setters use, join the school. It's $37 a month. We've just closed in on 90 members and we're still growing. Now, when you're ready for your entire acquisition system to be optimized, built from scratch, or rebuilt to be able to scale to 10, 20, 50, 100K per month, book a call below and we'll see if there's anything we can do together. All right.